So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome and welcome back here at BSN Network. Today we'll keep back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, July 6th. Hopefully everybody had a good 4th of July weekend. I know I did. I did a lot of fun stuff. Hopefully everybody else had a good 4th of July weekend, but obviously we're back at it again. Weekday today, Monday, starting off the week. I always say this, I don't like Mondays, not a big fan. I like my weekends, even though I do the pods on the weekdays, which I love to do. That's why I do them. I love to do podcasts. I do really enjoy my weekends. But it's back to a new week. 4th of July was awesome. I had a lot of family friends come over, hung out with them. A lot of good food. Did ton of good stuff both days. So I did a lot of good stuff on Saturday and Sunday. And now obviously it's back at it on Monday. So anyway, hopefully everybody had a good 4th of July. Hopefully everybody stayed safe during the 4th of July. And, maybe if you did, whatever you did, hopefully you enjoyed it. Now we're back at it. I know a lot of people. I do know a lot of people. I think a decent amount of people do take off today. I think Friday and today. Or is it just Friday? Or it might actually be Thursday. I'm not sure. But anyway, I do know probably some people might take off today. I don't know. But I'm still doing my podcast today. So we got a ton of sports to talk about today. We got David Njoku, the Browns, and Austin Hooper. David Njoku, the Browns tight end, has requested a trade, and some of it I really believe. I think I know why. Next up is the Eagles Mount Rushmore. It's Mount Rushmore Monday. So I'm doing the Eagles. Like I said, I randomize it. I really completely just randomize it. I not really pick out of ad. I just Mount Rushmore or something, and I just pop in my head, and I'm like, I look at an NFL team, or I look at both MLB and NFL teams, and I look at their players, and I'm like, oh, I can expand on this, and I will say, oh, okay, this week I'm doing the Eagles. So I'm doing the Eagles this week. Eagles Mount Rushmore. Luckily, I can get through. I don't know how long this segment's going to take, because if there is some days there's a lot of breaking news, and I need to get to it, I won't have something that's not breaking news being my pod. David Njoku's breaking news, though. And we have the Yankees. The Yankees, all of a sudden, are turning into the Yankees of last season. They were doing good. Training camp looked good. Now, 2 Yankees have the virus. Tanaka got hit in the head with a ball. Although he's doing better. He was back at the stadium yesterday. Only a mild concussion, which is very good. Could have been much worse than what it looked like. It was going to be a lot worse than what the outcome really was. Still, though, he took a 112-mile-an-hour fastball off the head, so it's still got to be bad to some extent. And one more quick thing. I know you might see this little guy here. I know it's very tough to see him. I mean, I really can't do anything about it. He's very tiny. If you look at him in person, he's even tinier than he really is on the screen. It's a little pop head. They make sports characters, so I don't know if you can see. He's in pinstripes. He's Yankees. He's a little Gleyber Torres. He's got a number on his back, number 25, pinstripes. Got his glove on. He's probably very tough to see, but I can't do anything about it. Even if I bring it up closer to camera, the thing is very small. It's only about that big. It's very small. But I got it yesterday. I was out and about, and I picked it up. I thought it looked pretty cool. So I added to my setup because I have a lot of Jet stuff here, and I wanted to add on to Yankee stuff, and I already had a Nets, obviously, thing here. Obviously, some Nets stuff on the wall. I obviously had Yankee stuff on the wall, obviously, right there. But I wanted to add on, so I got a little pop head, Gleyber Torres. I like Gleyber Torres a lot. That's also the reason I got it. I chose between Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres. I went with Gleyber Torres because, to be honest, I probably like Gleyber Torres a little bit more. I like Sanchez, but sometimes he just swings for the fences too much. So I went with Gleyber Torres. Anyway, with all that being said, 4 minutes into the pod, I don't like to make my intros too long, because then that means I make my podcast longer, which means, now David Njoku might take a little bit more time. But anyway, that's it for the intro. Let's get into the sports talk. Today. So This is the BSN Sports Podcast, and we're going to start off today with David Njoku. So David Njoku, if you don't know who he is, he's not. I would not say he's a very household name in the NFL. He's not as a tight end. If you were to look up some tight ends, he's not a Rob Gronkowski, meaning name-wise, not Rob Gronkowski. A lot of people know who Jimmy Graham is, although he's not really that good anymore. He's not really a Jimmy Graham. He's not an Austin Hooper, not a Mark Andrews. He's not a very household name. He really isn't. He's not a household name. And you're going to have those players who are not household names. You're going to have those, you're going to have those players, for example, Ryan Griffin. Very good tight end for the Jets. Had an amazing year last year. For a guy that we picked up he was going to be like a third string for us. We picked him up. For a guy that was expected to probably be maybe bouncing around from our practice squad to our regular lineup, I mean, the guy was phenomenal. I mean, I would have expected maybe if he was a second, third string, maybe to get like 2 catches this season. The guy was phenomenal. I mean, the guy had an amazing season. And I'll tell you what, look at the other tight ends. He had the numbers last year to be a top 10 tight end in the league. Am I saying he is? No, because I really don't believe that. He had 1 good year. Yeah, I get it. But, it's not like he's had 5 great years. Like Mark Andrews has had many great years. Right? Mark Andrews has many, many, many good years. And he's had many great years, Mark Andrews. Don't get me wrong. Same thing with Rob Gronkowski. He's one of the better tight ends of all time, to be honest. Jimmy Graham, too. He's a very good year. Very good couple seasons, especially with his time with the Seahawks. Russell Wilson to Jimmy Graham was very successful. They made it to the Super Bowl during that time. They were very successful together. Obviously, Graham left. David Njoku, though, is not your household name. I'm sure some of you guys maybe watching this podcast may have never heard of this guy, David Njoku. I have. I hear a lot of NFL players. I'm a podcast. I know a ton about, that's why I do these podcasts. I wouldn't be doing them if I don't know anything about sports. So I know a ton about sports and stuff. So I know who David Njoku is. Obviously, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking about him if I didn't even know who he was. There's some news that pops around sports revolving a player that I've never heard of, and I don't really talk about it because, to be honest, I talk about things that I can expand on. So David Njoku, I'm sure maybe most of you, and I always say this stuff, a lot of people might be watching this pod might have never heard of David Njoku. Some of you have, some of you may not. I don't know. David Njoku is the Browns tight end, okay? And I don't want to say that the Browns did him bad, kind of like the Browns, are kind of just like, it's almost like I don't want to go that far because I don't think that was how it was. But anyway, breaking news came out that David Njoku requested a trade from the Browns. Almost like the whole Jamal Adams. Just if you don't know if you really can't think of David Njoku and things like that, then just think about Jamal Adams. Everybody should know who Jamal Adams is. Most people should know who Jamal Adams is. Best safety in NFL. Okay. Especially if you listen to my show, I talk about Jamal Adams all the time. I mean, I'm a Jets fan, as you could tell. So I talk about Jets, I talk about New York sports. So you definitely will know who Jamal Adams is. I'm telling you, I've talked about him on the show before. But anyway, he's requested a trade. So just think of Jamal Adams right now requesting a trade. Okay, so it's that same thing. He wants to leave the Browns and go to another team, go into free agency, whatever the case may be, blah, 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 blah. David Njoku, I don't want to say the Browns did him bad. I don't want to say that because I don't think that's a necessary thing to say. I really don't think that is true. In a way, I really don't believe that's true. Just because of the way he kind of he was playing. He wasn't playing great. He wasn't that good. He wasn't really he wasn't a very good, for Baker Mayfield, he wasn't anything special. It wasn't like he was really being that great of a tight end where they were like, we got to keep this guy. They went out, got Austin Hooper, who's a very good tight end. You can make the argument he's one of the top tight ends in the NFL you can make the argument he's one of the top 10 tight ends in the NFL out of all those players. You could really make that argument easily. You can make that argument that he's probably a top 10 tight end in the NFL, Austin Hooper. And David Njoku is clearly not a top 10 tight end in the NFL. I mean, that is wide and clear. Look at the numbers last season, he only had 5 receptions. And I think another reason of this, not even just because Austin Hooper's going here, and I actually want to get to Baker Mayfield in a second because this all kind of does tie back to Baker Mayfield, and actually kind of does tie back to Sam Darnold in a way. Okay, David Njoku last season had 5 receptions. That is not a very good number. I would not want to be 5 receptions if I was a tight end. Tight ends get targeted a lot, a good amount. He only had 5 receptions. And you would think, too, that with Jarvis Landry and Beckham on that team, both kind of just wanting the ball. Oh, I want the ball more. No, I want the ball more. No, I want the ball. You would think, Mayfield would just block that out and just be like, Njoku's the only one that's not complaining. All right, now I get it. He only played 4 games last season. But still, 5 receptions in 4 games is pretty bad. Tight ends make 7 receptions in 1 game. Darren Waller last year was making like 9 receptions in 1 game. He was one of the best receiving tight ends in all of the NFL, Darren Waller. It's another tight end. A lot of people know Darren Waller, especially after his last year's season. So it's almost like the Browns forgot about David Njoku. It's almost like that. It is literally almost like that. Because if you really dive into this whole trade scenario, whole requesting for trade, David Njoku has not been very successful with the Browns. That's kind of shown. He hasn't been that crazy of a player. He hasn't been very successful. His first 2 seasons, he played his full 16 games. Last season, he only played 4. Here's the deal with him, though. He only played 4 last season. 5 receptions, 10 targets. He's only getting 10 targets. And in a season, he's only getting about 88, 60 targets. But it's almost like in a way they were like, they kind of forgot about him. Because David Njoku was still there. He wasn't being very, very successful for them. They were like, okay, there's a guy on the market named Austin Hooper. Let's go pick him up. They got Austin Hooper, who is now going to be their probably every day, every week tight end for the Browns. And they're like, oh, David Njoku, we're sorry, you got to leave. Like, it is almost like the Browns forgot about David Njoku. And David Njoku is not a big name in the NFL. But it's almost like the Browns, their team that actually has David Njoku, forgot about David Njoku. They were like, okay, you know what? He only played 4 games, yada, yada, yada. We completely forget about him. Let's go pick up Austin Hooper. Oh, whoopsie, we still have David Njoku. Now, don't get me wrong. Getting Austin Hooper was a good move. But to be honest, I really believe it was a very good move. You're getting one of the top tight ends in the NFL, getting Austin Hooper. I really believe that this whole David Njoku thing, they should have got rid of David Njoku earlier because now he's requesting a trade, and now you have to go through that whole trade process, meaning like, requesting a trade, for a team, you never want a player to request a trade. You never want a player to request a trade. You don't. That is the last thing. That is the absolute last thing you want your player to do, is request a trade. Because then around the locker room, the team, the whole franchise, everybody, all the media's all over them, it kind of like, especially now, when everybody's like, it would be one thing if you're at training camp right now. Training camp, that's the thing. When we get to training camp, which is very soon for the NFL, I don't know what the media rights will be. But at the Jets training camp facility, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of heat. It's almost like there's just outside heat, you'll feel like, with the whole Jamal Adams situation, right? That's why teams, that's really the last thing you want in your player. A player, you trading a player is not the end of the world. A player requesting a trade, because now you have to, as a GM, as a coach, as a manager, whatever sport it may be, now you have to, figure out, where are we going to get them, look at other teams, all this media coming in, taking interviews, all that stuff. That's why actually requesting a trade right now with all this virus going on, when media isn't allowed really anywhere because all these coaches and stuff are in their houses. I get actually a better situation because, you don't have to be asked all those dumb questions. But requesting a trade for a team, for a franchise, you never want to go through. It is not a very good situation. You never want that. But anyway, David Njoku asked for a trade. And like I said, the Browns almost like it's almost like they forgot about him. Because they were like, oh, let's bring in Austin Hooper and we got David Njoku now. And, David Njoku knows he's not going to play. For a fact. This is almost guaranteed. This is almost as guaranteed as it can be as the Jets won't win the Super Bowl this year. This is as guaranteed as it can get to where he won't play. Like, you're not telling, no way. Unless if Austin Hooper gets injured, there is no way David Njoku will be taking that starting job over Austin Hooper. There's just no way. I'm sorry, there just isn't. So David Njoku is now asking for a trade. Now, David Njoku has not been very successful. I'm going to give you that. And I'm not trying to be mean. He really hasn't. He hasn't been anything special. He hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet. He hasn't been on an all-pro team. He hasn't been first, second, or third team, whatever. He hasn't been on the rookie team, anything like that. He really hasn't been. He's been okay at best. And you can kind of come to an agreement on that. He's been okay. You look at the numbers through 16 games. He hasn't really had a problem with playing 16 games since last season. It was not until last season where he ran into the problem, I can't play 16 games. It was last season where he ran into that problem. Last season, though, you really can't go off of the numbers. He's only 4 games. I say this a lot about Cam Newton, so I have to give everybody the fair enough, end of the stick, right? 5 receptions, 41 yards, 1 touchdown, 8.2 average. It's a guy who's only 23 years old. He's still very, very, very young into his career. Very young into his career. His birthday is actually July 10th. What's today? July 6th? So his birthday is actually July 10th. So, like I said, it's not, it is really, 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 really interesting that, these players, not these players, these coaches for the Browns, almost like they almost forgot about David Njoku. It's almost like they forgot about him. It's almost like they were like, let's bring in Austin Hooper. We blew it. Wait, we have Njoku still. Wait, hold up. What are we going to do? He'll request a trade for us. So, him requesting a trade, where is David Njoku going to go? I have no clue. I really don't. I really don't see him being another starter. I really just don't. Unless if that's just me. I really don't see him being a starter. That might just be me, though. Might just be me. I don't see him being an everyday starter for another team. That's unless if there was some rumors, when a player requests a trade, you know how the league goes. You know how everything goes. And I said I'll get to Baker Mayfield in a second. You know how it goes. When somebody requests a trade, they're all like, where is he going to go now? All these teams are like, 10 reasons why he'll fit with this team. 10 reasons why he'll fit with this team. This team. And all the articles you're seeing it from is, the Jet Press. Jets Wire. Cardinals Wire. Browns Wire. You're hearing it from all that. Maybe those are trustable sources, but something that is a team in that, that's even with me. I've always wanted to be like a sports writer, podcast, or thing like that. I love writing about sports. I love talking about sports. That is what I want to really do, is sports writer, podcaster. I would name my sports writer, I would be a sports writer on my, I wouldn't be no Jet Press, Yankees Wire, anything like that. No, I'm okay. But you start to hear from all that, right? And to some extent you can believe it. Some extent you can. Some of the stuff they say is true. Some of the stuff they do say is true. I actually shouldn't say that. Not all of those sites are bad. It's when you get to the wires, they can get they can get very biased. They give you 5 reasons if let's just say the Jets press, it will give you 10 reasons why the Jets will and could win this game. No, don't give us 10 reasons why they could. Give us 5 and 5. 5 reasons how they could, 5 reasons why they can't. Because you always want to look at the other side. That's the same with me as a Jets fan. I can never rely on just winning. I always have to, especially when I'm, predicting the score. I look at 5 things the Jets, I don't really look at it, but I could just think of some things the Jets could do well, some things the Jets could do bad. I don't just, when I'm on this podcast too, I don't just randomly make up my picks. I don't just randomly, this team seems good, let's just go with that. But back to the whole point with this David Njoku thing. Now you hear all this, all these teams, all these, wires, all these articles coming out. Oh, where could he go? I've heard some rumors he could go to the Jets. I've heard some rumors he could go to even the Steelers. I've heard some rumors he can go honestly everywhere. There's almost every team. I really don't think he needs to go to the Jets. I'm just going to make that loud and clear. I didn't hear anything about the Giants. I don't think he needs to go to the Giants either. They got Evan Ingram. They're perfectly fine. The Jets have Chris Herndon and Ryan Griffin. They're perfectly fine for the time being. I really don't think he needs to go to either of the New York sports teams. I really don't. But to be honest, if he could probably try to go to a team where he can get a starting job. And that might be tough, especially getting on a team now with all the virus, the training camp starting. They kind of already have like a gist of, okay, this guy's going to come here, blah, blah, blah. You might not see David Njoku play this season. You might not. But it really all depends on what happens, how this whole situation plays out. It's really how it goes. And what I said about Baker Mayfield. You might see actually some strides this season. Okay, same thing with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield have been put into some of the worst situations, as you can ask for first-round quarterbacks. Okay, you really can. Like, Sam Darnold, he got paired with Todd Bowles, no offensive line, no running back, no receivers in his first year. Second year, he got paired with Adam Gase, no receivers, no offensive line, a very good running back who did not perform well. Okay? Baker Mayfield. Hugh Jackson, probably the worst coach in the NFL. Not a great offensive line. Not a great receiver. A pretty good running back. But because Nick Chubb, we can all say is pretty good, right? But other than that, nothing. Got put on a horrible Browns team. We could just say he got put on the Browns. Okay, that's really all you have to say, and you'll know. Okay, he got put on a team that didn't win, a game in like a year. So we can all say, okay, well, we understand. You got to understand that. He got put on the Browns, let's say that. Last season, he got put on a team with a bad head coach in Freddie Kitchens, with an offensive line who did get a lot of penalties, a penalized offensive line, heavy penalized offensive line, a lot. He got two receivers. He got one receiver that was a true head case in Beckham, who all he wanted was the ball. He had, in David Njoku's case, not a very good tight end. David Njoku's nothing special. He's okay. 5 out of 10. I'll give him like a 4 out of 10 if I had to rate him. 3, 4 out of 10, something like that. He didn't have a great tight end. He had a good, okay receiver in Jarvis Landry. He had a head case in Beckham. He had a good running back. But other than that, he had nothing. That was last season. Now, he's on a new team. Now he's got a good running back still. Their offensive line, they got a new offensive line addition, so their offensive line has improved. They still have almost the same receiving core, except they did get, obviously, Austin Hooper, so maybe now that will really lessen the load, and maybe Baker Mayfield could actually just focus on just playing. He still has that Pro Bowl receiver in Jarvis Landry, who was good last season. I don't know if he was Pro Bowl worthy, but he made it probably because of his name. Same thing with Beckham. Beckham's still a head case, but you at least have Landry and Hooper, and now you have a running back. Same thing with the Jets. Now Darnold has a better offensive line. He has a better receiving core. Hopefully a better running back due to that better offensive line. That's why I think this year is the true judgment years. Baker Mayfield doesn't play good this year. I don't know if you'll see him in a Browns uniform next year. Sam Darnold doesn't play good this year. I don't know if you'll see him in a Jets uniform next year. I think you'll probably see Baker Mayfield without a doubt in a Browns uniform just because of all the hype he brings to that city of Cleveland. Darnold, on the other hand, I wouldn't say he brings that much hype to, New York and everything like that. New York, New Jersey, I wouldn't say he brings that much hype. So you'll probably see him out. Or the Jets will target a quarterback in the draft. Something like that. It would take a very big landslide for the Jets to end up with Trevor Lawrence at the number 1 pick. They would have to go like 2, 3, and 13. 2, 14, 2, 3, and 13, something like that. It would be ugly. I do not want that to happen. I want Sam Darnold to be successful. I want Sam Darnold to be our franchise quarterback. It's just people don't understand we have not done anything with him. Like, what have we done that benefits? Like, at least Daniel Jones has had a better receiving core than Darnold did his rookie year. At least Daniel Jones had a better running back than Darnold did his rookie year. Right? At least he did. Darnold was put in a horrible position. Todd Bowles, not even an offensive-minded head coach. No receivers, no running back, no offensive line. Got one of the worst coaches you could have got on the market at Adam Gase. No receivers, no offensive line, a good running back who did not perform well because of Adam Gase. Now, he has a good receiver, good offensive line, hopefully a better running back due to that offensive line. Still a bad coach, but at least you're getting somewhere. That's why I really think this year is the true judgment year for both Darnold and Mayfield. Josh Allen, the other quarterback in that draft class, he's shown. He's shown he can lead his team to the playoffs. He has. Josh Rosen, horrible. Horrible. I don't even know. I mean, that guy's just, I don't know. He's a bust. Horrible. Josh Allen, good head coach, good offensive line, good receiving core, has decent running backs. He had Shady McCoy, he had Frank Gore and Devin Singletary. He has good receivers, though. Josh Allen has shown that he can, all he's got to work, he's a very strong arm. That's what's going to keep him in this league, in my opinion. A very strong arm, one problem. His deep ball accuracy isn't great. But he's already shown. He led the Bills to a wild card game, so he's already shown. This isn't his, and they're only adding at the receiving spot. They already had John Brown and Cole Beasley. Now they're only adding Stephon Diggs. Bills right now, for Bills fans, you better be happy. Like, you're in a good spot right now. Jets and Browns, on the other hand, with those two quarterbacks, I don't know. Josh Rosen out on his own island. I don't even know what's happened to that guy. So, David Njoku requesting a trade. I don't think it's a huge hit for the Browns. It's not like this would be the opposite and Austin Hooper's requesting a trade. But I do think this will get interesting. Especially, how is this breakup? Is it ugly? What is it? I want to know. Like, what is it? Is it going to be an ugly breakup? Is it going to be, okay, you know what? It was best for me to go my separate way. It was best for them just to go on with Austin Hooper. What is it going to be? Because it looks like the Jets and Jamal Adams has been ugly so far. We can say that. It's been ugly so far. And now, Jamal Adams kind of saying, I want to be gone with the head coach because of the head coach. It's been ugly so far. Is it going to turn into ugly? I don't know if it really will, because David Njoku's not that high of a level as Jamal Adams is. He's not really the best at something, in my opinion. So I don't really know if it would be that ugly if the Browns are kind of just like, okay, leave. David Njoku's like, all right, I'm not expecting anything crazy here. Just get me out of here. Jamal Adams, on the other hand, he's expecting a lot of money. The Jets are, we have the best at something. We have the best safety in the league. What do we do? It's kind of been a little ugly. That's what the Browns got to do. That's what trade request. If you request a trade, you do not want it to turn into ugly. You don't want it to turn into ugly. You don't want that to turn into an ugly situation. That's the last thing you want as a franchise. That really is. Alrighty. So now we move into Eagles Mount Rushmore. I'll tell you what. To be honest, I'm not even kidding. I'm really not even kidding. Mount Rushmores are actually a hot topic right now. So I technically am talking about, not really breaking news, but a hot topic. I'm not even kidding. It's true. All these are, some of these articles, I actually didn't even, I don't follow off of them. I just like to have something up on my screen in the meantime and stuff. I make up my own Mount Rushmores. I think of players. Sometimes I'll Google them and see, what their numbers are, how many Pro Bowls, blah, blah, blah. That's how I get them onto my Mount Rushmore. But actually, Mount Rushmores have been a very thing. A lot of people have been doing Mount Rushmores. A ton of people have been doing them. Literally, a absolute ton of people have been doing Mount Rushmores. It's so true, though. Because, with no sports on, now sports are starting to get back up. So you might see, people start to, get back into, who's going to win this game, blah, blah, blah. But people have been doing a ton of Mount Rushmores. And it's very, it's crazy. People have literally been just, creating articles. Oh, Mount Rushmore, Mount Rushmore, Mount Rushmore. Here we go. because there's no sports on. Well, now there is, but like even like when they're making them, like some of these articles I'm finding were made in June, May-ish, right? That's when all of this was really like, oh, no sports on. And that's when people were trying to be, find a creative way to talk about sports, to, debate on a topic. Mount Rushmore is a very easy topic to debate on. Who is the greatest of all? Like, these are literally the 4 GOATs of a franchise. And I always put, not all people do this, I always think it's the right thing to do, put one honorable mention. An honorable mention means like it's almost like it's not on there, but it technically, like, if the next man up would be that guy. The next man up would be that guy. Honorable mentions really don't even have to be that good. You could just make a random honorable mention of, I think this guy's an all-time great, and I could put him there. Like, to be honest, I do the most accurate list. I don't do who I like the best. Like, that's the thing with the Jets. If I really wanted to put it on there, I really like Le'Veon Bell with the Jets. I really do. I would put Le'Veon. If it was a likable, Le'Veon Bell would be. Joe Namath would also be on that thing, because every Jets fan should like Joe Namath. I mean, that's just a common thing you should do as a Jets fan. If you don't like Joe Namath and you're a Jets fan, that's a little crazy, not going to lie. Definitely a little crazy. But Brian Dawkins is my number 1. So, like I said, I'm going to get into the Eagles Mount Rushmore right now. Here we go. Brian Dawkins, number 1. Here we go. I have Brian Dawkins at number 1. I think he's one of the best safeties. In his time, he's the best safety in the NFL. I mean, the guy was just unreal. I mean, it's almost speechless how good that guy was. He was quick, fast, interceptions, could sack, hard hit. He was a very hard-hitting guy. 5 quick reasons right off the bat to put him on the Eagles Mount Rushmore. I mean, the guy was just so good. He got the Eagles to many great things. He did many great things with the Eagles. Obviously, they made it to the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure, against the Patriots that one time. They lost. Brian Dawkins actually had a very good game. They lost to Marvin Harrison. I think that was who it was. Intercepted the ball. Rodney Harrison, I think, actually was. I don't know. One of them intercepted the ball on the Patriots, took it back. And that was it. That was the Super Bowl for them. He never won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, which is one thing a lot of people are like, oh, Brian Dawkins had such a successful career, but he never won a Super Bowl. It reminds me a lot of like a Jim Kelly. I talked about him last week on my Monday Mount Rushmore. He never won a Super Bowl. He never did. He made it to many. He got to many of them, made it to 4, never won a Super Bowl. Right? Jim Kelly on the Bills, right? Brian Dawkins, he made it to them, never won one, was very successful, really helped the Eagles. But that's how I really think he stands out, is he helped the Eagles. In his time, you cannot even say, in his time with the Eagles, in his prime, he was the best safety in the NFL. He really was. I don't even know how I'm comparing this right now, but he's like 10 times better than Jamal Adams in his prime. And Jamal Adams hasn't even hit his prime yet, but I really believe Brian Dawkins probably might be the best safety to go down all time. He might be. I mean, he was such a hard-hitting safety, too. He was, like, so scary to go up against. Like, as a receiver, you're running deep. You're like, okay, all right, I got it. And then he just comes in, lowers his shoulder, and just delivers the bang. Or he would quickly get over there, intercept the ball. That's what I found goes so good about him. That's safeties nowadays. You see a safety like Jamal Adams. Not really an interception safety, a more hard-hitting blitz safety. Sack safety, right? Yes. That's one type of safety. Another type of safety is Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's an interception safety. He doesn't really blitz that much. Another type of safety, right? That is another very good type of safety. Now, it's just so fascinating how good he was. He could do both. He could do both of those. Both of those was just so good. And I really believe Brian Dawkins deserves not to be on this list. One of the best Eagles of all time. Brian Dawkins, first one up on the Eagles Mount Rushmore. Next up, we got Reggie White. Reggie White, in his time, he obviously started off with the Eagles. A lot of people know him for his Packers time, but where his career all started was with the Eagles. That's where it all started, was with the Eagles. His career all started with the Eagles, was a very good player, a very sack guy. I think he had 198 sacks throughout his career. I mean, the guy was phenomenal. I mean, I said it last week or whatever or 2 weeks ago, I think it was, about the Giants, right? I did Lawrence Taylor. I did their Mount Rushmore. I put Lawrence Taylor on it. I think it's so obvious that Lawrence Taylor should be on there. He's one of the best linebackers, if not probably the best linebacker of all time. He probably is. He had 200 sacks. Reggie White had 198 sacks. A lot of people remember his time with the Packers and are like, oh, he was so good with the Packers. You look at that's where it all started. That's where his career all started, was with the Eagles. The Eagles is what made him great. And I'm pretty sure they had a good coaching back then. And that's what really made him great. That's what made him mature, grow up. So then when he got to the Packers, he was a very good player there. A lot of people do remember his time with the Packers, but if you really look in there, you really look at what he did with the Eagles, very successful player with them as well. He's number 2 on my Mount Rushmore list. Next up, we got Donovan McNabb. I mean, what more has to be said about this guy? This guy might be one of the best. I have another quarterback next up on this list. This guy might be the best quarterback to ever go down in Eagles history. I mean, this guy was very good. He could run, throw, arm. He had very good arm strength. He was very accurate. Big plays in big moments, big times in the games. I mean, Donovan McNabb, he could do everything. He could do everything when he was out there on the football field. He's very focused. Very good arm power. He could run, could throw, accurate deep. He was a very good player. And I think putting him on this Mount Rushmore is clear. I think you have the best safety in Eagles history and probably the best quarterback in Eagles history, both on this Mount Rushmore. You might have the best safety of all time. And you would really have to go in and look at all the other safeties, obviously, of all time. But, I mean, the Eagles, you could almost say, they did not have a great quarterback. They had not had that good of a quarterback since Donovan McNabb. You know, Nick Foles was there. Obviously now Carson Wentz. Maybe I'm missing something, but it was really Donovan. It was actually who's on this list next. Donovan McNabb came on after. But Donovan McNabb could run, could throw, very good arm power, very good strength. He also could take hits. He was a big dude. He could take hits and still, fight them off and still find a way to either power for the first down, get to the first down, do something like that. Very good player. Donovan McNabb's next up on my Eagles Mount Rushmore. Next up, I have Randall Cunningham. This is another guy. He played back in the 80s. He was actually before Donovan McNabb. Randall Cunningham's very underrated in my opinion. Not a lot of people talk about Randall Cunningham. Maybe as Eagles, like I said, maybe all the Eagles fans do. I don't really know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not going to be the decision maker there. I don't really know if they do or not. But Randall Cunningham was such a fascinating player. I mean, what he did. He's one of the best running quarterbacks of all time. You've heard me talk about it on the podcast when I'm talking about Lamar Jackson or something. Lamar Jackson is almost tops Randall. He's not, or Patrick Mahomes, for example. When I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes, I said his running ability is pretty good. It's not a Randall Cunningham. It's not a Michael Vick. It's not a Lamar Jackson. Randall Cunningham is one of the better running quarterbacks of all time. He's probably behind Vick. I think Vick was a little bit better, but I think actually Cunningham might have been a better overall quarterback than Vick. I think Cunningham, that's what was so good about him, is he could run and throw. Vick was more just strictly a runner. He could throw too, but he was mainly just a runner. Especially early on in his career. Towards the end of his career, that happens to a lot of quarterbacks. That's why you see running quarterbacks sometimes struggle a little bit at the end of his career. Because they don't have the leg power, they don't have the endurance anymore to really go run for 100 yards in a game as they would in their beginning of their career. So that's what Randall Cunningham really did. And I know this might be sounding way off topic, but it's very true. It actually relates back to the same thing. In football, if you're a running quarterback, and towards the tail end of your career, or in the middle of your career, you realize you don't got much into you. You got to really develop that arm strength. You got to really develop the accuracy. Same thing with Vince Carter in basketball. He realized in the middle of his career, so he didn't have all that jump anymore. He was like, okay, I'm only gonna get a little bit less jumpy as my career go on. So he started to develop the mid-range shot, and that's what made him still good throughout his career. That's what made him play so many more years, is that he was able to develop the mid-range. Same thing with Randall Cunningham. He came on, running quarterback, realized, okay, I don't got all of it in me. I got to develop a passing. Now, he was still very good at passing. I think all over, he was very good quarterback. But especially his running really pops out to me. And I think with his time with the Eagles, what he did with that team was very good. I think actually a lot of people talk about Donovan McNabb. I think just because Donovan McNabb might be more of a bigger name and also more recent than Randall Cunningham. But I think a lot of people do talk about Donovan McNabb more than they talk about Randall Cunningham. But Randall Cunningham, I mean, the guy was fascinating. He was very good, fast, accurate, good arm. Pretty good arm. I wouldn't call it as good as Donovan McNabb's or something like that, but he had a very good arm. He had a pretty good arm. I think for a running quarterback, he actually was pretty accurate. I know a lot of running quarterbacks, sometimes they aren't always that accurate. They really aren't. They're not always that accurate. So I think with Randall Cunningham being accurate, he was pretty accurate. I think a lot of running quarterbacks, they run, and when the time they have to throw, they're like, oh, great, I have to throw now, and then they're like, then they throw it completely like a little over the receiver, a little behind the receiver, whatever the case may be, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, great, here we go, right? And all of a sudden that's how it goes if you're a quarterback that runs a lot, and that's what I really like about him. He developed the passing game. He was able to throw a lot, and he was still able to run and was a very good running quarterback. So that's what I got for my Eagles Mount Rushmore. Brian Dawkins, Reggie White, Donovan McNabb, Randall Cunningham. Here's my honorable mention, Chuck Bednarik. I think that's how I said the last name. This is a guy who played way back then. It's almost like I'm talking about Honus Wagner or something. I did that on my baseball. It's almost like I'm talking about like Honus Wagner. He played way back then. I don't even think there was color back when he played. I've never seen this guy play, obviously. I have seen Brian Dawkins, Reggie White, Donovan McNabb, and Randall Cunningham play. I've seen their highlights. I've never seen their highlights. But I've never seen even this guy's highlights. I don't even think TV, radio. It must have been radio back when this guy was playing. But anyway, linebacker. I was looking at the wiki. I was looking at his wiki. His stats. I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at all that. From what I see, he's one of the better linebackers to go down all time. I mean, this was the guy who was very good, and he was actually before Lawrence Taylor at the linebacker position. This is a guy who could get to the quarterback. Back when he played, it was really a lot of zone. It was, he played back. He played back when it was like black and white, which you know what that means. Back then in football, it was so crazy. The players were literally out there to destroy each other. Like, they were out, like, they had barely any helmets. They had, like, rubber or whatever. Like, I don't know quite what it is, but it was like you had, like, something on your head. It was like it was just like things. It was something that would go down. It would be something that you would put on your head and just go down here, and it would be like crazy. It would be like, really? Like, really? And what he did with that team was just so crazy. And obviously I think that, I think he actually played with like a little bar and stuff. I think he did. But I mean, he was back then, 1949. I think he actually played back in the 40s and the 60s a little bit. He was a 10-time first team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. He played center as well and a linebacker, but he played mainly linebacker. He played 169 games with the Eagles, and he missed only 3 games in 14 years. Jeez. 3 games. They called him the league's Eagles from 1949 to 1962, the league's last 60-minute man or two-way player. Oh, he played 2 ways, so he played every snap. So this guy, and it's kind of funny because Reggie White's one of the best pass rushers the league has ever seen. This is probably one of the best like grinding grit guys the league has ever seen. 20 interceptions, and was named NFL's all-time greatest center in 1969. Was a part of the 50s All-Decade team, as well as the NFL 50th, 75th, and 100th anniversary all-time teams. He was a Pro Football Hall of Famer, obviously. That's all has to be said. And I know I put him at an honorable mention, but I think that's also because I think it's fair to put Randall Cunningham and them all up there. But I mean, for a guy that was so successful at 2 positions, not 1, 2. 2 positions is just congrats. Wow, that's crazy. So that's my Eagles Mount Rushmore. Brian Dawkins, safety. Reggie White, defensive end. Donovan McNabb, quarterback. Randall Cunningham, quarterback. Honorable mention, Chuck Bednarik, linebacker. So that's what I got for the Eagles Mount Rushmore. Now we move into some Yankees news, and interesting day at, Yankees camp, right? Very interesting day at Yankees camp, huh? Very interesting day at Yankees camp. And I actually said this, I think actually last week, or somewhere around there. Right, I was all pumped. Baseball's back, Yankees, are obviously back. Everything's going great. Yankees are back, baseball's back, boom, 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 boom. Everything's going great, right? Everything's going great. Obviously it was almost 4th of July. We were in the summer. Baseball's back. Everything's going great for sports, things like that, right? And all of a sudden, now, the Yankees' first day of camp, we saw Cole on the mound, we saw Judge out there, we saw Stanton, we saw all that good stuff. We were like, woo, baseball's back. And all of a sudden, it's like a boulder just came rocking in on the Yankees. For Saturday, July 4th, Tanaka got struck in the head by a line drive, 112 miles an hour line drive from Giancarlo Stanton. In a simulated game. They're trying to simulate a game. So a simulated game is it's a real game. You have live pitching, things like that. I do them all the time in baseball. I've practiced all the time. I do simulated games. You have live pitching. You have a couple infielders, couple outfielders, anything like that. And, it's a scrimmage. Nothing crazy. It's just a simulated game. It's really actually for the pitchers mainly. And you can get some defense in as well. But the pitcher, especially now, especially coming back from, obviously this big break with obviously the virus and everything, a simulated game is big for the pitchers. They can get on the mound. They can get back in front of, live hitting. Same thing with the batters. They can really get live pitching, things like that. It's all good. So they were doing fine. They were pitching. They were doing all that good stuff. And sure enough, I guess one of the pitches, Tanaka threw it in. I'm sure we'll get the full details eventually, what pitch it was and all that. We did get the detail. 112 mile an hour hit. So Stanton hit it, 112 mile an hour, went right at Tanaka's head. In that moment, as a Yankees fan, now I didn't see it live. I ended up hearing about it because I had everybody, I had family, friends and stuff I was over, and, I was, doing a lot of stuff with them. So I really wasn't, although I did watch Yankees summer camp the day before, I didn't watch it live. It was quite ironic. I checked my phone just for a second, and it said Tanaka gets hit in the head with the line drive. And I was like, oh, great. You just have to think, when you get hit in the head with a line drive, the worst only pops up. Oh, he might need stitches, he might have cracked his head open, things like that. All that stuff. Tanaka, I thought, it seemed worse. Now, I don't know how in the world, do not ask me, don't even come close to asking me, because I don't know. I really don't know. I'm actually, speechless here. I have no clue how. Don't ask me how he has not had anything more severe than only a mild concussion. Don't ask me how he was able to get up and walk out on his own power. I really don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't specialize in heads. One thing I can say is he's got a pretty hard head. That's one thing I could say. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, maybe their arm. Maybe he was like this, and maybe it got a little bit of his head, maybe hit a little bit of his head, but maybe kind of hit his arm a little bit. But then you got to think, how in the world did he break his forearm, or how in the world didn't that do anything? Where? Okay, I just want to know, where is the bruise? Where is the bruise? Because there's got to be a bruise, right? There's no way this guy does not bruise. It's crazy. How in the world? And so they took him to a local hospital and things like that. They checked him out, did a bunch of scans. Everything came back negative. CT scan, everything like that. CAT scan, everything like that. Everything came back negative. He has a mild concussion. He was back at Yankee Stadium yesterday. He has a mild concussion. So, mild concussion isn't horrible, isn't bad, isn't good, though. I mean, mild concussion's bad. Any concussion's bad, but it's better than what could have been. It could have been. You could have thought of a ton of different things. And I'll tell you what. Giancarlo, that's 112 miles an hour. That's completely different. That's 112 miles an hour. coming at you. And that's the thing. Like, I would love to know where the bruise is. Is it on your arm? Is it on your head? Or does this guy just not bruise? Like, I don't really know. What is the case? Now, like, what is it? Like, I just don't know. And luckily he's okay, and I'll tell you that for sure. Luckily he is okay. I was hoping he was to be okay. He tweeted something out. Yankees did everything like that. Hopefully he's okay. He is okay. It seems like that. He has a mild concussion, but it is better than what it could have been. I'll tell you that for sure. It could have been a lot worse, but it is better than what it could have been. He is okay. He's feeling better. He was back at Yankee Stadium. So obviously, with him being back, obviously it's very good to see him back, to see him, obviously he wasn't pitching, he was just back there. That's always good, especially for the players to see, especially Stanton. And I've had that feeling before. I've actually hit one of my players before with the ball. It was in a game. He was on first base. I line drived him right in the leg. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't coming off my bat at 112 miles an hour. It wasn't coming off my bat, maybe not that much. I was actually way younger too. But it was a hard line drive right at his leg. I think he was actually okay. But it stinks because he got out because he was leading. So if the ball hits you when you're leading, you know how that turns out. But anyway, it's almost like a boulder just came in, hit on Yankee Stadium. So it started, coming down a little bit. Little chips of rock started to come out or whatever. Like, rain started to come down a little bit. This isn't real, but this is kind of how it did. So Tanaka got hit. Yankee Stadium kind of went silent, or the players went silent, things like that. And let me just say something first, people. I have two things to say here. Okay, I get people where they're coming from with this whole L screen thing. I get where people are coming from with this whole L screen thing. And I don't really get it, but in a way I do. I could see both sides of it. Also, people, I don't know if you're being real or not, but these people blaming Giancarlo Stanton saying, we got to get rid of him. Oh, we nailed Tanaka in the head. I have an app called Bleacher Report. You can comment on different sports topics. I do it all the time. Okay, please. No, it's not Stanton's fault. He cannot control. That's almost like saying a fan in the outfield gets hit in the head with a home run. How in the world is the player supposed to control that? You can't control it. It's one thing if Stan picked up the ball and just lasered at Tanaka's head. That's one thing. That's just dumb. I mean, but so you're complaining that Stanton, he was a very nice hit. It was a hard line drive. It would have went up in the middle, but obviously hit his head, which stinks. But, what can this, Stan can't do anything right. And I like Stan too. I like Stanton. Stanton reminds me a lot of a Le'Veon. Le'Veon Bell came to the Jets, hasn't been very successful. Stanton came to the Yankees, hasn't been very successful. I'm trying to hold on to him. I'm trying to hope, okay, maybe it's this season. Maybe he can sprout out. Maybe Stanton could really just hit it and just go up. Okay, and another thing here with this whole screen thing. It was a simulated game. The Yankees had an L screen up yesterday with James Paxton. It was down by all the way down by the pitcher's mound. Okay. It was an incident. I know it was horrible. He got hit in the head. That's not good. Are you going to have an L screen in a real game? No. You wouldn't have an L screen in a real game. You wouldn't even be close to having an L screen in a real game. You wouldn't have an L screen in a real game. That's what a simulated game is. It's not so the coaches can throw to you with an L screen, throw 50, 60 miles an hour. It's so a hitter and a pitcher can get back into it. So a hitter can get back into seeing 80, 90 miles an hour fastball. Garrett Cole, for example, the day before Tanaka got hit, he threw a simulated game, almost hit 100. He had no problem. He had no L screen, no problem. It was just it was just that one moment. That one time, if Tanaka doesn't throw that ball where he threw, or for example, let's just say that ball was let's just say Stanton doesn't swing, all this stuff doesn't happen. None of this happens, right? And no way, I'm not blaming on Stanton or anything. I'm just saying, like, if for example, if he never swung, or if Tanaka threw the ball, none of this would happen. So putting up an L screen might actually help. It's gonna help probably, but in a real game, are the Yankees gonna come out there and wheel out an L screen for them? No. Like, with all this L screen stuff, like, I get it. It's for the safety of the players. But, first off, when you're pitching into an L screen, like, you got to make sure it's perfectly lined up. Because these players, it might make them a little bit, like, Might mess him up a little bit, especially with Paxton, especially if the L screen's like right here. I'm not a lefty, so forgive my arm motion. Let's just say, I don't know, the L screen's right here. You gotta, as a righty, I like to have as much space as I can. But, with all those people saying, oh, put an L screen, why no L screen? It's because it was a simulated game. You're not gonna have an L screen in a regular MLB game. It's not like now the Yankees will just roll on out an L screen. I mean, it's happened before. Many players have gotten hit before with balls. It's just how it is, especially in the major leagues. I'm just really thinking that, with all these people, I just think a lot of people are just like, I just think a lot of people are like, oh, why no screen? Well, I'm not going on a rant here. All I'm saying is it's just you're not going to have a screen in a real game. It's a simulated game. They do them all the time. It's just this one time, it's one incident it's what it results in. And luckily Tanaka's okay. And luckily he looks like he'll probably be ready for opening day, I would think. Maybe, I don't know. Because he has a mild concussion. What do those take? About 2 weeks to heal? Right? A week or two to heal? He probably can't look at any technology. He probably can't do any of that. So, but anyway, luckily he's okay, and that's all you can say, is luckily he's okay, right? He's got to stop looking at the negative. They had no L screen, we got, drill, blah, blah, blah. You got to look at the positive. He's okay. He's doing fine. He was back at Yankee Stadium, and, obviously he was back at Yankee Stadium and doing well, obviously. So, that's what I got for that part of the Yankees podcast. Now, I have a little bit of others. So like I said, the rain starts to come down a little bit. Now, it's not real, but it's just how it is. And then all of a sudden, DJ LeMahieu and Luis Cessa test positive for the virus. And that's when the rain just starts downpouring on Yankee Stadium. And that's just when, you're like, oh, this is how the season's going to be. And that's true, though. That's the problem. One player gets the virus, and now you're like, oh, great. Now you're like, oh, great. Look what's happening now. And that's what happens when you have all these players in, obviously, when you have all these players in, when you have all these virus cases now. So Luis Cessa, Yankees pitcher, and DJ LeMahieu, one of the best players on the Yankees right now, both test positive for the virus. Now you have to test everybody else, make sure they test negative. Here's my whole thing, though, and this is what's going to be so hard about getting sports back. One player tests positive on the team, you have to look who they played, you have to look who's been in contact with. That's why this virus is so spreading so quickly. Because if one person gets it, you could be walking in the street, you could be literally just walking past him, and he breathes, and you get it. Now all of a sudden you have it, now all of a sudden you deliver it. So, what I'm saying is, this was so bad about this virus, is one person can get it, and if that one person get it, the 20 other people he's been in contact with, and in those people who they've been in contact with, the other people, they're all going to get it. That's why the cases were rising so rapidly. Now that less people are getting it, now that the, states are shut down, now that it's kind of more in quarantine here, obviously they're opening back up, which is very good. But now with everything, obviously, kind of being, shut down, and now obviously kind of being opened back up, now you'll start to see, okay, maybe with people taking the precautions with a mask and things like that. That's why all this stuff happening, all this spike was when there really was no mask, when there really was, all that stuff. But now there's precautions, now there's all of that. So now you really look at it and you're like, okay, boom. We're able to tackle this. But DJ LeMahieu and Luis Cessa both have the virus on the Yankees. It's tough because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, right? I think already 39 players have tested positive. It's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. That's the thing. It's no surprise. I was hoping there would be no positive cases, but there's no surprise that there is. There really is. It's gonna happen. It's how it's gonna be. It is. It's almost like each state. Every state has a case, at least one case. I was looking the other day, Antarctica is the only place on Earth that doesn't have a case of the virus. There's 27 people that are in. I think there's 27 people that are in Antarctica right now. They're in those little huts. 27 people. All 27 of them are staying strong. None of them have the virus yet. That's the only place on planet Earth that doesn't have the virus. Only place on planet Earth that doesn't have the virus. 27 people. They're at the science like history area museum thingy like that. That's the only where they are. I think it's only 27 people are there. I think in Antarctica, it's all the scientists, the researchers, and stuff like that are all there. That's the only people. That is literally the only people that are there for there. So that's the only place on the planet Earth that doesn't have a case. So other than that, everywhere else has a case. So you're going to expect it. Almost like when all this broke and all this was spreading, right? Maybe you were in a state that you were hopeful, and we might not ever get a case. Well, you got a case. Everybody got a case. Everybody's going to get a case. Every state's going to get a case of the virus. Maybe not Antarctica, because who's going to Antarctica right now? No, I think the only really scientists go to Antarctica. Oh, hey, kids, we're going on a family vacation. Where are we going? We're going to go to Antarctica, So that's really the only area. But what I'm trying to say here is every player's going to get a case, so it's expected. It's expected, probably not every player, some players, it's expected that somebody's going to get the virus. Whether it's a coach, a player, anybody like that, somebody's going to get the virus. You cannot start up a season and not have anybody get the virus. Hey, okay, if you can, sure. Congrats, you're good. But, I'm sorry, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think everybody's going to at least get one case. Or not every team's going to at least get a case or something like that, near that. So DJ LeMahieu and Sess have the case. They're both quarantined. Hope they have to test negative twice now. After the 2-week period, test negative twice. So I don't even know if they'll be ready for opening day. But anyway, hopefully they feel better. Same thing with the Tanaka and everything like that. But yeah, obviously, like, a lot of just came down on the Yankees. And that's what stinks, is because, obviously, with this whole, Yankees thing here, obviously it stinks because, you're happy for baseball season, and now all of a sudden you see, 2 players got it, and, you see a player get line drived and all that. Like, it just is hopefully, the Yankees aren't like last season where we're calling up, because it's only a taxi squad, people. Ain't no minor leagues. They got canceled and all that. But anyway, that's what I got for the podcast. A good hour podcast today. I don't got anything else to say. I really don't. That's all I got. So hopefully you all enjoyed it, and I'll be back at it tomorrow. So enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be back. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.